Hi everyone, welcome to episode 94 of the Unleash and Thrive podcast. So excited to have you here today joining us. I have a wonderful guest in the house, Dr. Adesayo Adelowo. My bosom friend. She's a woman of God. She's a lot rolled into one. If I start here, I said I'm not going to read her bio. I'm going to let her introduce herself informally, because sometimes when we read the bio, people just think, who is this person? But I said, no, we're not going to bring formal. We're going to just do it informally. So you are most welcome, Mommy. It's great to have you here. It's great to have you. And I want to just mention, so we would love you to introduce yourself informally. Who is Dr. Adesayo?
Okay. All right. Good morning, because it's morning from my hand. And wherever you are joining us from, I welcome you. And I also want to acknowledge you for taking the time to watch or to listen to this podcast. I would like to appreciate my friend, Pastor Olabode, for being my friend, for being my encourager, for being someone who worked relentlessly to push me. We've been friends for a while now, but she is aware of so many stumbling blocks that the enemy thought, it could put on my way to stop me. We have just finished talking about the unstoppable woman. But when you talk about being an unstoppable woman, you should acknowledge that there are other women around you who are encouraging you, who are motivating you. I remember last year, it was supposed to be a big setback. And I couldn't do anything, besides writing my book. And she came, Pastor Olabode came and said, you have to get up, my friend. You need, the tribe is waiting for you. She kept saying that, and surely the tribe was waiting for me, because I noticed that some women were, creeping into the messenger, even my email. Oh, mommy, where are you? We have not seen you. We have not. And some of those women who reached out to me then, have actually become, my fantastic, friends, buddy, and supporter. So I really want to thank you for being who you are: friendly, generous, compassionate. I don't really think that I can ask for a better friend than Pastor Olabode. So, introducing myself, I am Adesayo Adelowo. I'm a child of God. I would say I'm a spoiled child of God, because God loves me. He loves me. He loves me so much. And, recently, I started calling Jesus babe, because I'm in a situation where I lie down most of the time. So when I'm lying down on my bed, I pretend I cover the two of us, even the four of us, the Holy Ghost, Father, I cover us, I say, oh, babe, I want to tell you something. I imagine, they're my lover, and they are,
Yeah.
I say, babe, come over, and I will be talking, and I am filled with joy. So I would say I'm a spoiled child of God. His goodness is running after me. I refer to myself as an awesome treasure, the apple of God's eye. By the grace of God, I'm married to my childhood friend. Our story is spectacular. David Adelowo. And I don't know, aside God, I don't know what I can do without that handsome man. And we've been married for 30 years. God has blessed us with 3 wonderful children. They are grown-ups now, 30, 27, 22, and we're blessed with two wonderful, wonderful, grandchildren. The last time they came, they were looking for their grandpa. They're always looking for their grandpa anyway, because it's the one that plays with them all day. And when our grandson came, he was looking like a soldier. Where's grandpa? Where's grandpa? Where's the like? Your grandpa is not here. Why are you going to play with me? And I called him. I said, your grandkids are here. So when he showed up, finally, he said, I'll come back in 2 hours. I'm in the training. What training? The girl said 2 hours is too long.
Because their brain
with
cannot
them,
comprehend 2 hours. That's too long.
yeah, 2 hours is too long. 2 hours. So we really bless the name of God. By the grace of God, my husband is the pastor in charge of RCCG and New Zealand. We've done that for more than 20 years, as well. And God is helping us. What I notice most of the time, we are after, a mega church in 10,000 seaters or 1,000, people, on your row. Sometimes it does not really happen that way. Sometimes God knows your capacity, He knows what you can handle. He knows the place that He's sending you to. He knows the people that He's sending you to. So maybe God might actually bring 5 people, 10 people, 100 people. You can't tell. But what I've seen is the power of impact and influence. And by the grace of God, we're reaping, the fruit of that labor. It's a labor. God says, the field, is ripe, but laborers are few. I want to tell you that somebody was telling me, about 2 months ago, you are not getting younger now. Maybe you should go and buy a house in Nigeria so that you can go. And I said, why am I going there? Because God has blessed me all over the world. God has opened international doors, due to the people that we've nurtured, we've cared for. Some of them are still in New Zealand, some are in the US, some are, in the UK. And I tell that person that because of the work, the little that we've been able to do, wherever we go now, people will roll out red carpet for us. And I really want to bless the name of God for that. The fragrance of influence. Yeah.
That's why I said you are rolled up into, so many things all rolled up into one.
So many things. Yeah. By the grace of God, I've been able to publish 8 books on women, impact, influence. And I think I think it's getting better. I'm getting I'm becoming more confident, not arrogant, But when it comes to knowing what it means for a woman to be an influencer. Most of the time we're talking about positional power. You're a school principal or you're a manager. As a woman, you do not really need to hold any positional power. Wherever you get yourself, just like a fragrance, a perfume, you should impact on people there. People should be able to know that you are there. They should, and when you left, they need to remember, how you impact on them. So by the grace of God, I've written and published 8 books. I'm writing the ninth one now. And I thank God for that. I also host the Purpose to Influence conference by the grace of God. We couldn't hold it last year because of, last year was very heavy, but I'm trusting God, But by the grace of God, I also speak at conferences. We're starting the School of Influence very, very soon. The shape that is going to take, I don't know, but this is what God is telling
God
me.
Is our word.
And God is our word. And I am a cook. I'm very creative when it comes to cooking. I cook authentic Nigerian cuisine. Jollof rice, moi moi, akara, ekuru, kuli kuli.
You see, you've already answered the next question because I was going to ask you to give us 2 fun facts, but now you're giving us even more than 2. So I'm like, okay, do I even need to ask this question? Mommy is a very authentic cook. So for all your
Yeah, so
Nigerian dishes, if you
Nigerian
live in New
cuisine,
Zealand,
you live around there.
if you live in
Yeah. And
Auckland,
if you
New
want me
Zealand,
to come to yeah, if you want me to come to Canada, to the US, for your to be, your caterer, I can also come, if you pay, my flight. So that's it. That's a little about me. Thank you, Pastor Olabode. Thank you.
oh, thank you
Mm,
so much for sharing that and making us laugh. So today we have a
thank you.
very interesting topic. You just wrote a new
Mm,
book. I actually have the book here. It's called Embrace Your
mm,
Authentic Self. Your influence
mm,
starts with you. I got my copy just last week, Friday. So I'm excited.
mm.
So, because our topic
Praise
today
God.
actually is the topic of discussion is influencing your
Mm,
world, through authenticity. I know that word authenticity,
authenticity.
we hear it a lot. We hear it a lot.
Mm,
Sometimes we hear something so
mm,
much, you don't even really know what it means. I think after a while, people sometimes
mm,
they hear a word so much, they don't really know what it means. They just hear it and they're like, oh,
mm,
yes, yes, authentic self. But I want us to
mm,
just kind of look
mm,
at it. What exactly, and for you, because now that means that you are an authority, because for you to have written this book, you have done some
mm,
research, into that word
mm.
authenticity.
Yes.
So what would you say
Right.
that word means?
Amen.
What would you say it means?
Okay. Thank you so much. And I'm I'm very glad that you're holding that book. Um, I haven't got a copy. I don't have a hard copy. I'm the I'm the author. I'm jealous, that Pastor Lou is holding
Your
that
copy is
book
on the
and I
way.
don't have it. My copies, that I've ordered, they are on the way. Thank you for that question. The Lord laid it on my heart to write about authenticity because recently, if you follow the trail of the books that I've written, I wrote about unravel and the mystery called you. That's knowing your identity. After that, I wrote unravel the mystery
Of
of your
your
worth.
worth.
Those are 21 days in our plan. Unravel who you are, unravel your worth. Sadly, because God has commissioned me to minister to women, women have been brainwashed into believing, that they are nothing, that we are nothing. Most of the time, our identity is lost in being a daughter, is lost in being a wife, is lost in being a mother,
Mm,
is lost in being a grandmother, is lost even in our
mm,
career, is lost in being a pastor's wife. Initially, when I became a pastor's wife, it was very rough, it was very difficult. And there were scripts that people had written for me.
yeah.
Sadly, I was living true to the scripts that they wrote for me. I'm not saying that God wrote for me. The script that God wrote, that church people, wrote for me. This is the expectation. We're from Africa. They know how you should treat them. They wrote the script, but nobody cares to know how God has, what God is telling, what God is laying in your heart, your original self. So when we talk about authenticity, it means originality. And what I've also, I don't know if I wrote it in the book, we cannot be authentic 100%. Sometimes we're authentic, sometimes we're inauthentic. And it is okay. It is part of the process. It is, the journey that we are being called into. But we live in a world now that there are noises drowning us, drowning who God has made us to be. Most of us were not confident, to rise up. I wrote in the book that when a woman wakes up in the morning, the temptation is to decide if she is going to be who God has made her to be, or she's going to succumb into the script, into societal expectation. But I wrote the book, for women who are courageous. That is, I've just linked, my next my next title. Women should lead with should lead with emotional courageous. So I've written the book, for women who are ready to arise and be courageous, to be their original self, to live their original life as designed by them according to the will of God. So how do we come about originality and God? You have written on the masterpiece, and I still cannot recover from that your book. So when we talk about originality, you are a masterpiece created in the image of God. There are no two you. The way you look at me, my nose, I look very much like my late father. But I'm sure if he was alive today and you look at me, you will still see, maybe some point of differences there. All right. The way I speak, the way I gesticulate, the way my voice is unique. I came across a young lady. God has blessed her so much. I was ready to work with her, but I did not know that she was having a kind of identity crisis. Instead of her to project her voice, she wanted to sing like Sinach. I didn't know until something came up and, she started talking it. So God made you, God gave you that special, unique voice so that you can influence,
and there are some people that are waiting to hear that voice, that unique voice. And then when they hear it, they are drawn to that voice. But you are now behaving like somebody else.
Yes. When you talk about gospel artists, the African Americans, I think I'm drawn to just two, Cece Winans and what's the name of this one that wrote Royalty? I can listen to the two of them, and I'm drawn to them. They influence me. In fact, because of Cece Winans, I've used, Cece Winans' lyrics in my books. I've used Tasha Cobbs. Those are the two. Yeah, those are the tools that I'm drawn into. And who knows? Maybe it's when I listen to how they inspire me, how they conjure. I wrote a book, The Oil in My Alabaster Box. Sissy wrote my,
from her song. She has a song about that. So powerful.
And I can listen to the Alabaster Box, 100 times a day. So that means God has given Sissy that voice, to influence me. And because she obeyed God, she did not want to sing like Whitney, late Whitney Houston. I listen to Whitney once in a while. I do. I love her songs, but she doesn't really meet my need, like that. So, but a lot of people have asked that woman, Sissy, that why do you decide to continue on this platform? So many people your age, were tempted, to mix it, do secular a little bit and do gospel a little bit. But she said, she had that conviction to remain on that platform, to continue to influence. So that is the original Sissy. If she had wanted to be Whitney, maybe she won't be who she is today. She was able to understand her identity, her originality, and she lived her original life as designed by God. So that is the essence, of being authentic, of being your authentic self. It is only when you know and you embrace your authentic self that you can actually design your life, to fit the purpose that you have been called into and to influence your world. You cannot influence the world being a fake material. Take, for example, all this, iPhone, iPad. Some people will still buy. I remember a year, my phone, because I was always losing my phone or dropping it. My kids went to buy a phone from China. It served the purpose for a while, but it did not. You understand what I mean? So, they had it, imitations, they have the look alike, they have the fake, material. And unfortunately, as women, because the society expects us to behave in a particular way, they expect us to think in a particular way. Your husband will tell you, I've not given you the permission. That's a very big topic that myself and Pastor Lualabode is dealing with. You're married, you to a child of God, but you had a purpose before you got married, before you even met the man.
Yeah.
I knew my purpose. I loved reading. I did not know that God was incubating things, I love to study, I love to read. Those two things, you can't take it away from me. So will you now say, okay, now because you're married, you leave that call, that purpose aside to continue to live your husband's, designed life? How are you going to be fulfilled? It will get to a time that you feel frustrated and you want to pack it up. And that's why we're challenging you now. You need to be you first to influence your husband. You need to be you first to influence your children. You need to be you first to influence those women out there, your employees, the people that you are managing, your church, as a woman, the community. But if you are fake, nobody wants to have anything to do with you. Nobody. You can't even impact. You speak like other people, you want to dress like other people, something that you cannot afford because you want to impress on your enemies. You put yourself in debt. Who cares about you? How can you stand on a platform and be real? Open yourself, make yourself naked. That's when you can attract people to yourself.
But I think one of as you were talking, there's something dropped in my heart. One of the challenges we have, and I think even for people of color, or I would say African descent, or even brown people, which are like Asians, they also have the same challenge. Is sometimes a lot of our cultures teach you that vulnerability is a form of weakness. So that sometimes that's a challenge that we face. And so because of that, a lot of us, we've been taught to just coop yourself. Don't let anybody know your real you. Just have this facade, I almost say, of what people want you to think of them, or what people want you to think that they know of you. Just stay like that. Meanwhile, your real self is begging, I almost will say, to come out. He's begging. So how do we deal? It just dropped my heart as you were saying that. Because a lot of people are saying, I remember when I started sharing that my story of suicide attempt. So people reach out to me and say, why are you so vulnerable? I remember when I started, just being myself, and I would do reels and I would dance. Somebody reached out to me and said, why? The person said to me, what denomination do you belong to? I'm like, what does that have to do with dancing? He said, because this same box of not being able to be your authentic self. Person said, because you're a pastor's wife, and I don't, I love the way you are, so joyful, but it is not normal for people to just come out there and be themselves. And I said to myself, why would we let people put a lead on us? And remember that I was the same way for the longest time. So how can we deal? Because as you said that, it just dropped in my heart. A lot of people cannot even be the authentic because they are thinking, can I be vulnerable? Maybe because of A, B, C, and D, somebody is going to judge me. How do we handle that area?
It's pleasing that you're trying to get me to talk about my upcoming book, but I'm going to resist that temptation. Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to resist that temptation.
Maybe somebody needs to hear it. That's why.
When we talk about being vulnerable, we've kind of outgrown ourselves. Take, for example, a child. When a child comes, let me say, when a child was given birth to, she did not know her right from her left. The only person that she was attracted to would be the people who were nurturing her. When she smiled, the people who smiled back, at her. If she was dirty, I was telling somebody, She doesn't know the difference between my dad is rich or my dad or my mom is poor. She doesn't have an idea of the status that the parents are trying to portray. She doesn't know. She doesn't know why you even sent her to a particular state school, up until 5:10. They just want to play and be real. I was telling people, these kids do not really need it. They don't even have an idea of how big your house is.
They don't care.
They don't care. They just want to be with you. They want to be loved. They want to be left. They want to be fed. They want to be nurtured. They want to feel safe.
Yeah.
And if we continue to grow that way, it will not be hard for us to be vulnerable. Then the issue of shame came in. I was in unravel, the mystery of your worth. I said, is it good for women to continue to live, with the shame, of being hip? If missed the ball, she ate what she wasn't supposed to eat. She also gave her husband, and the judgment
and everybody condemned her.
And everybody condemned her. And do you know that day God loved us so much that salvation, redemption actually was put in place already.
Yeah, on that day.
Redemption occurred already because, okay, you want to cover yourself. You are. Why are you hiding? It's because we're ashamed. We heard your voice, and we're ashamed, so we're hiding. Oh, why are you hiding? Because we are naked. All right, that is vulnerability. They were not ready to be vulnerable. They had been vulnerable with God, but now they are conscious of who they are. They saw themselves. They did what they were not supposed to do. So shame set in. And most of the time, that is what we go through. And with shame comes perfectionism. With shame comes doubting your self-worth. With shame comes, suicide, attempt. What will people say? What will people think? But like I said, redemption set in, even on that day, because, there was a lamb that was slaughtered, and the skin of that was given to them. God, how did God come about that skin clothes, that animal clothes that he gave them? Something was slaughtered. The blood was shed already. And she was told, that definitely there is going to be a war, between your seed and the enemy, and it will come to bruise the heel of your seed, but your seed will bruise the head. So that was redemption. And this is what I keep telling people: fighting for equality, fighting for yourself. Well, you don't need to fight for it because you did not lose it in the first instance. Sin came, you did not lose it. It's only what you have lost
that you are fighting
for. You did not lose it. God is a complete God. He make you, perfect, a masterpiece. There is nothing substandard about you. Yes, we sinned in the garden, but we were forgiven immediately. Redemption occurred immediately. So when you sin, sometimes, I committed, I fornicated, I had an abortion, I divorced myself, and you riddle yourself with shame and worthlessness. But the person that you sin against has forgiven you. It says your sin has been thrown, into sin. Why are you still holding it? Why are you holding on to your self-righteousness? Why can't you be vulnerable? And you say, God, yes, I did it, but the price has been paid already. Our time is even better. The New Testament, the blood has been shed. We just went through, Esther. I did it. I own up to it, but somebody paid the price. The one who paid the price did not commit the sin. So I really like that word. If you're ready to be vulnerable, it will help you to become real. It will help you to know your original self. Like I started talking about emotional courage. If you are not ready to be vulnerable, you cannot be emotionally courageous. You will not be able to tell people that I'm afraid. You will not, you are leading, you're feeling guilty or you're feeling sad. You can't, my friend knows me very well. You understand me. If I'm not feeling up to it, I will. That is me. I cannot. By the grace of God, somebody came to assist me with my leg, a physio, one of my girls, and she was pushing me. I said, "It's enough. I am feeling pain here now." Oh, I said, "You even said you wanted to go and cook for your husband. Your husband is expecting you." She was laughing. So that is me. I could have,
you could just be
because
yourself
the
instead of
society
bearing the
wants me to
pain
be
when you are
strong.
going through.
The society wants me to be strong. They don't want me to be to look weak. They don't want me to say I cannot do it. They don't want me to say I am weak. The society wants me to be a superwoman. And African women don't crack. Who says? When I'm not up to it, I should be able to say, this is who I am. I cannot go a step further. She was helping me. She put an envelope right behind my leg. And she said, "Mom, move your leg." And I was doing it bit by bit. And she was encouraging me. When it got to a stage, I said, I can't do it anymore. That is being vulnerable. She's my spiritual child, young enough to be my daughter. Why am I showing? I'm a pastor's wife. I teach about strength that God can do it. God is. But hey, this is my body. I am not feeling that God can do it. Right now, I don't feel that way. And it's all right.
It's okay.
It is all right. And that helps me to be my original self. So it's not left to you to say, she calls herself a pastor's wife. She's always teaching about being strong and whatever. And look at this little thing that is breaking her. That is your business. That is for you to deal with. You are not me. You don't know what I'm going through.
Yeah.
You don't know the stress. You don't even know the efforts that I'm making.
Yeah.
You don't know the strength that I have. You don't know the things that I'm prioritizing. Some of them will come and said, "Oh, I had a bad night." One of them called. It was in Dallas couple of hours ago, and he called me and said, "Oh, I had a terrible night. I could not sleep." As a leader, should you be, should you be telling the people who are following you, "Oh, I started physio yesterday and I could not eat. I was vomiting." And I came back about that. I said, "What are you not eating?" I said, "I'm not yet. I went to bed at 8. So I woke up at 12.
Wide awake.
I was just wide awake. And he called me, "Mom, you're not sleeping." "I'm not sleeping. I had a terrible day yesterday. I went to physio and I'm feeling pain right now. And I can't even, I verbalize."
It's okay.
That. It's okay. This is me. This is my original self. And in that book, I talked about Naomi as a leader.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any question around that, but I just want to dig into that. And just to relate this to what Naomi went through, she migrated. I'm not sure if she supported her husband when they were going to Moab to look for bread. They left the city of bread, the house of bread, to go to Moab to look for bread. How dumb was that? How dumb was that? Because he was Elimelech, my God is king, and we've seen people like Isaac who sowed when there was famine in the land and they reaped 100. So what part of the Bible didn't he understand? And so when he was going, the wife went with him. That was being vulnerable because you're leaving the familiar to the unfamiliar, the familiar culture, the familiar way of serving God to the unfamiliar, the familiar way of raising children to the unfamiliar, the familiar way of farming, of going to the market, to the unfamiliar, vulnerability, uncertainty. Unfortunately for her, the man who took her to the strange land left her with 2 boys. And not too long after that, the boys came, "Oh, we're going to get married to foreign women." Who does that? Do you know if they were not serving the same God, as Naomi? Do you know if they wanted, to feed her children with pork? Why, as a Jew, she wasn't. So a lot of things that she went through, but she was still coping. When, the wife came, the women came, the Bible didn't say, if they were serving God or she accepted them. She loved them. She did not judge, his son. Unfortunately, the two boys passed. That's what I call as crucibles. As leaders, we will go through trials. We will go through temptation. So she was grieving. She was going through the loss. I called her, a woman leading a household in a strange land. She did not have the village, to support her. She was down, everything. She became hopeless. She lost everything.
Yeah.
And she was down. But when the good news came, when hope came, the Bible says she got up.
Yeah.
So it's all right to be down. That is when we can actually know that you are able to get up.
Yeah.
If so far you get up. I like that. So far you get up. That is the state of being vulnerable.
Yeah.
She was there. The husband is done. God forbid. The two sons, passed. Sometimes even when our children, leave, to study abroad, we feel the pain. But our two sons left her with two ladies who were not even pregnant. There wasn't any hope for her. But she did not say, oh, I am strong, I'm not good. She was just, I think, that
she was very vulnerable with them. She just told them,
very vulnerable. She was on the floor. Yeah. If she was not on the floor crying, there won't be any mention of, and she got up with her daughter. You only get up when you are only being on the floor. Mm-hmm. Possibly she was in a sackcloth. She was mourning, her husband and her children. She was mourning, she was homesick. Everything wasn't right, with her. So the daughters-in-law saw her in her original state of being. This has been our mother who has always gone to the temple to pray. This has been our mother-in-law who has been encouraging us. This has been our mother-in-law, but she is not feeling that way right now. When she got back to Israel, she said, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara. That is vulnerability.
Yeah.
That is vulnerability. That is being authentic. At a stage, she was not complaining. She was rocking it, with her husband, with her children. But when things were not coming the way she expected, she broke down. And people were able to see her. Even when she got to Israel, they were still able to see her in her originality. They said, leave me. The Lord's hand is stronger against me. He has, forgotten me. He's forsaken me. His hand is heavy upon me. Wow. I went out full.
And I came back empty.
Empty.
It's so sad. And really, that part you just said is so powerful, because I think even for people that are leaders, that are listening, whereby we feel like we always have to be the strong one for everybody, so that they can never really see you vulnerable, I believe is not a good place to be. If they need to see you vulnerable, is okay, because it also shows that you are human. Because sometimes we behave as if we're superhuman. So for women that are listening, that are leaders, it's okay to be vulnerable. And I find that even people also find it easy to identify with us when they say, oh, our leader, she has also gone through that. So we know where she was going through. And then they see how God brings you through that season. When you share how you are going through, and then they see God bring you through that season. Sometimes it's not even what we say that encourages them, but it's how we deal with our own situations, where they see a little, they're like, wow, you mean you went through that? And when you're going through, oh, you know what? You are going through, you are encouraging them. But they know that even you also go through as well. Not that you now behave as if, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm good where I am. I don't go through anything. No. That was what it was. And that was why even Ruth was able to be almost like vulnerable with her. She was Ruth could identify with this woman, whereby I'm sure she's seen her that, okay, you know what, my mother-in-law might be like this, but I believe that my life will be better off if I go with this woman. That Ruth story, Ruth and Naomi, is always like there are always so many lessons like to share from it. So powerful.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing about. And I think that was what I don't want us to tell people everything in the book, but there was a that's what I was very particular about. I will not, so that people can go and get copies. It's called Embrace Your Authentic
Thank
Self.
you.
You can get a copy on Amazon, on Seller, or wherever else this book is. If you live in Auckland, you can send a message to Dr. Isaiah, you can get your own copy. But there was a chapter in the book that you wrote, Be Authentic, Everyone Else is Taken. What made you, what led you to write that story?
Okay. So I'm just going to share this story. It's a story of being vulnerable as well. I remember when we were growing up, you know, and I went to Lagos, you know, during the holidays to spend the holiday with my sister, and that's how I came. That's the first time I met my husband. Was just we're just young, you know. And I remember then, and that's still my look now, you know, I was almost balded. I wasn't the jewelry type. I was not the makeup type. I was like a free-spirited young girl. And that has, you know, from time to time, I've been in and off. Like I said, you can be authentic. So I think that is actually my authentic self. I'm comfortable, you know, with being that way. And I remember, I think maybe when we got married, I was trying to do all these, you know, makeup, you know. And one day I think I was tired. When we came to New Zealand, when you come overseas, I was always struggling with who's going to make your hair. One, you need to book an appointment. Two, is too expensive. So I asked a young man to come in and, you know, and barb my hair and shave my hair. And when that guy did, my husband looked at me and he hugged me. He said, this is how I met my wife. I said, this is the real you. This is how I met my wife when she was 13. And that thing still sticks to me till now. Okay. So to him, deep down inside me, that is how I would really love to represent myself. I go, you know, with the wig, you know, from time to time. But I think Pastor Olabode knows me. If we're not on video, she knows how I appear most of the time, you know. And that is the real me that I'm comfortable with. And I don't know what attracts Pastor Olabode to me or some other women. Maybe because they know, if Adesayo wants to be down to earth, you know, she'll be down to earth. And if it's time, you know, to be, you know, pepperless, you know, she can do that. I do not really know what attracts you, you know, to me. But if I wanted to be like you, I really want you to answer that question. Do you think I will have the little impact that I have now? Because my friend is bubbly, you know, she's my husband will say, hey, what you are on Instagram? Sorry, I'm speaking Yoruba. Your friend is on Instagram. I said, leave my friend. You know, sometimes I chase after her. I say, friendship me, where are you? I hope you are ensuring adequate care.
Rest.
I hope you are resting.
And that's me.
And that is who she is.
Even when I came to visit you, that was how I was. I'm up, I'm ready, I'm in the kitchen. Before you get up, I'm ready.
She's in the kitchen, she's in there. I'm like, okay, this is a super grace. Okay, this is a super great, and I love it. And I think that is why God brought her into my life. That she knows that God knows that okay, I can be up, but if I crash, I
Like
can
all of
just
us.
be there
Mm.
and say I've crashed. Oh, I've crashed. Oh, you know, yeah. So if I want to be like Pastor Lapode, or I wanted to be like our mentor, Reverend Funke Adejumo, I would not be talking, I would not be speaking about influence alone. I organize Mother Summits, but I don't really think a lot of people know that I do that quarterly, in Auckland. Yeah. So that is not really, you know, my internal configuration. My
Yeah.
internal configuration is not even purely leadership. Each time I want to say that, Maxwell has written a lot of books, on leader. God says it is influence. And so I draw up, within me. What is it? This one I started talking about our 30th wedding anniversary, our authentic,
The start
celebration,
is
the
really
authentic,
interesting. How the African
So that's just
clothes,
to show
the theme of the
the
party. We won't tell
African
you the whole
clothes
thing. Go and read the book.
is him, you know. So that is my identity. That is my authentic self. I do not really want to be you. But a lot of people do not have that confidence. They do not have that courage to be their authentic self. They believe the other person is doing better. Well, I love Pastor Olabode. I love, our energy level. I love the way she impacts. If she comes into this room, Pastor Olabode can actually chat everyone up here. Well, if I can manage to, if your eyes come across mine, I can manage to chat up with one or two people. If you get to know me better, we can hit it. But I'm not the one that will go around and hello, I'm not. So if I wanted, so it means our personality is taken, our influence is taken. So why don't I just be strong, in the anointing that God has given me? Because Pastor Olabode is taken. I cannot be, I can't be like her. I can't minister like her. I can't influence like her. Reverend Adejumo is taken. I love Mama. We communicate, from time to time. We send our video clips to one another, Mama has released this. Mama, we listen to her practically. But sometimes when I'm ministering, I look at it and say, hey, we are talking like Mama Ololabode, Mama Funke. I said, hey, I hope I'm not copying this woman. And I
No,
come
it's
back,
just
I
that
tell
you
God, I
catch
say, I
people's
do not want.
spirits. You catch
Yes,
people's
I said, I
spirit.
do not copy her. I do not want to copy her. She said some people will call her the Joyce Meyer of Africa. She said, I'm not the Joyce Meyer of Africa. I am Olufunke Felix Adejumo. That is it. You cannot carry,
you have to be
you
you.
cannot borrow the anointing, of Joyce Meyer. I cannot borrow the anointing of Pastor Olabode. They are taking and they are doing their own thing. But if I want to be them, can I do them?
Yeah.
So
And I
that
don't
is the
even believe,
essence, of
thank
that.
you so much for them. I don't even believe God intended for us to even be them. So, because if he
Yeah.
did, I'm sure he would have cloned all of us. We'll just be one set of people the
Yeah.
same. He wouldn't have even needed to say you are a masterpiece, because every time I talk about that masterpiece, it really just means a unique work of art. Every two masterpieces are different. You cannot pick up to the
Yes.
God asked me, I'm like, yes, it's true. Two masterpiece. Now imagine 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They will always be different, because a painter cannot paint exactly the same way. And that was what God was doing as he was creating us. He put it, according to the purpose that he called us for, he was equipping us. He was just saying, this is what I need for Dr. Adesayo. This is what I need for my mom. Okay, I need a little of this of this. And can you imagine I was putting it in there, all of us? And so we need every one of us to be authentic. And Ma, can you imagine how sweet our world is if everybody was just that, the way God designed us to be? God help us with society, because I remember how I was before, whereby I felt like mortifying myself. this person would, what would this person say? What would that person say? And sometimes I still struggle with it. Sometimes I still feel like if I post that, what would, and sometimes I would hear God say, it doesn't matter what they say. And I remember again the audience of one. What God says is the most important thing. So for a woman that is listening and saying, I am struggling with being authentic, it's okay to struggle with it. Each one of us, I'm sure even you, from time to time you feel like, am I, like you just shared just now.
That's what I mean. You can't be 100% authentic. Sometimes you are really, really your real you. I mean, the way I am now, I can't say I'm my authentic self because I would really love to remove this, hairpiece, and show my gray hair, but I can't because Pastor Olabode will not permit me to do that.
Oh, God. So for a woman listening, we want to encourage you. It is authenticity is even a journey. You can start as we start. As we start, God helps us. But I love something that you said earlier. You said we become more confident the more authentic you get. And I've seen that even with practice. The more authentic you get, the bolder you get. Because guess what? It's not you that called yourself. It's not you that made yourself. So who God has called us to be, if we would just step into it. Because sometimes I'm like, God, I don't feel comfortable doing this. But what do I have to do? Step into that personality that God has called you to. Just be you. So I love that. As well, that topic, that chapter was like a big one for me. Be yourself. Woman listening, just be you. I always say, let us meet you. Everybody has a flavor. We want to meet you. We want you to unleash the flavor God has put inside you. We don't want to say Dr. Adesayo in like 10 people. We don't need. Why would I need you in 10 people? No, I want to see everybody different. So wow. Thank you so much for that, man. That book is loaded. This book is loaded. It has so much in it. So we're not going to unravel the rest of it to you. People should go and buy copies. I want to buy copies of it. If for no reason, and sometimes I always tell people, don't buy for yourself, buy for somebody else as well. Someone that you know that may even be struggling with being an authentic person. This would be a great gift to give to them. So you can pick up your copy, go to Amazon. Because I say, you're not paying me for this, I'm doing free publicity for you. Go to amazon.co.uk.com.ca.nz.
Isn't it a beautiful thing that you've got the copy and I don't have one? Is that not the grace of God? So please do the whole world is on tiptoe, waiting for their copies there in New Zealand. One woman still came yesterday. What about the book? I said, please be patient. It's here already, but it's not been delivered. It will soon be here. It's amazing.
Well, thank you so for that wonderful conversation, man. What would your last words be on, for that woman that is listening, still pondering on how she wants to show up in today's world, in today's culture?
Yeah. In rounding up the book, I mentioned the importance of practice. Some people say practice makes, perfect. It means that as you choose to be authentic today, start very little. Look into the mirror. See yourself. I ask people, when you look into the mirror, who do you see? Do you see who God has created you to be? Or do you see who the society wants you to be? Do you see who you are even making yourself to become? And if you are able to identify that person that you are, begin to practice. Start little. Take, baby steps. Like I said, I'm learning to use my left leg, and now I'm taking baby steps, all right, roll the ball and twist your ankle. I can't really stand up, and start walking like, oh, I need to get something, from the kitchen. So it takes practice, to actually hone your authenticity. Like, Mama Olabode said, we most of the time we lose it. And the enemy attacks us as women because he knows if we're able to arise and fulfill our purposes, other women, will be delivered. Household, will be delivered. Workplaces, we become better. And so he is always inflicting that spirit of inferiority You are not good enough. You are not worth it.
Yeah.
You cannot, some of us, our parents had actually cursed out on us.
Yeah.
You cannot amount to anything. You can imagine when your parent tells you
And it
you
keeps
are
ringing.
useless, you are dumb, and it's still ringing. And your life is, those voices are actually droning out what God says you are beautiful. God says you are fearfully made, in his image. God says his hand, hem you. God says, I know the thoughts that I think towards you. They are not evil thoughts. They are good to bring you to an expected end. So many, and that's why I call him, my babe now, because I can't even remember the last time Pastor David said those sweet words to me. So sometimes I'm listening to the book of Isaiah, or even, I was reading, Judges, yesterday, and some things, were just boom, 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 coming. I said, babe, you are really powerful. This one is sweeting me. Oh, I'm really, it's sweeting. So when you listen, whose voice are you listening to? I am listening to the voice of the one I call babe now, that is God, who speaks to me every minute. Sometimes, I feel discouraged because I'm here by myself. Sometimes depression wants to come in quickly. I switch, into the word. It's either I'm listening or I'm reading or I'm listening, to music. And those words affirms who I am. So I am practicing. So I encourage you as a woman, believe in who God has made you to be and begin to practice. When we started writing our books, Mama, we did not start. I'm sure you have maybe about 11 or 12 now. Yes. You did not start at 8. You started writing the first one during our book coach, writers book club. I've got some participants who are keen to write 2 books. I said, no, start by writing one.
You still have to write one before you can write the second.
You have to write one. So what is that one thing that God is calling you to start? Start and practice. As you continue to practice, you continue to take baby steps. It will continue to encourage you. And as you continue to follow his leading, you become that powerful influence. I call myself an international, influencer now. And it's true. I'm not boasting. Because by the grace of God, somebody called me last year, oh, we need your book in Cameroon. I'm like, Cameroon. I started chasing after Pastor Adito. You need to get this, on seller. By the grace of God, it's gone into the hands of people in East Africa, in other West Africa. I was joking with one of our sisters who is also into books. I said, I'm coming to Nigeria for my book reading. She was laughing. She knew what I was. I said, I'm coming on that journey. Then I said, people in Ghana, they have invited me. In Uganda, have invited me. It's you. It's only your country, Nigeria. Who have you? Who is yet to? She was laughing. But what we're saying is, we did not start with 8 books. We started. This is what God has called us to do. Even in the ministry, we're very clear. God has called Pastor Olabode to minister to women, but not in the realm that he has called me to minister, to women. She can talk about influence, but she knows that is not what God gave her.
That's not my depth.
Okay. Yeah. That is not that something. I can do mother influence. I'll be mother summit, but that is not the core thing that God gave me. Yeah. So identify that thing. Identify who you are. Be strong. Be stubborn in being who you are. People will want to. I was having a chat with Reverend Adesayo, during this week, just sharing some things with her. He said, don't worry yourself. Those people, they are fighting. They are not happy because the spotlight is no longer on them. So when people know that the spotlight is no longer on them, they are not able to dictate to you. They are not able to command you or to even decide what you should do. They are going to rebel. They will not like you. And most of the time, because we need them to affirm us, we need them to validate us, we crumble back. Yeah. Because we always need that affirmation. You need an affirmation and validation anyway. But where do you get it? This is it. I'm using my phone. This is my Bible. Your affirmation, and validation comes only from God. So be stubborn about it. Yeah, and say, I don't care. whether you like me or you don't like me, you greet me. So far, I'm not keeping malice with you. It's all right. Mama said, because the spotlight is no longer on them, they will fight you because they are not able to dictate. The society is not dictating to you any longer. The society is not telling you what to do, what to wear, how to behave, what you can do, what you cannot do. You have the mind of Christ now. You have the heart of Christ in you. You read your Bible. Sometimes I pray through the night. Shaba, bobo, gege, sada, bobo, gege, baba. And before you know it, the revelation comes. Maybe I'm just reading my Bible, but this is what you should do. That is where you should take instruction from, not from the society. But we are warning you, when you start taking those baby steps, when you start practicing, the whole world,
opposition will come against
you. Opposition will come against you.
Yeah.
That is why you need a mentor like Pastor Oluwalabode, like myself, to strengthen you, to encourage you. We will hold each other hands. I tell my girls that God has brought into my life, I said, we are growing together. I am holding your hand. We are going up higher together. We are not leaving anyone behind. That is the essence of coaching and mentoring. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Wow. This has been a loaded session. Before we let you go, last one, where can people find you? And what are some of the things that we can expect from you in the nearest future? So where can people find you?
Where people can find me, I've got a website, Adesayo Adelowo.com. I've got all my books loaded there. I've got all my courses, loaded there. My coaching course and all those things. What can people expect from me? By the grace of God, that book coaching is becoming stronger in my heart. And my heart is actually going towards Africa. I don't know what God wants us to do. Maybe we're just going to run scholarships where we have good book clubs to encourage women and to write their stories. By the grace of God, we're starting, in Auckland very soon. But the enemy is fighting. I will tell you that story. The enemy is fighting.
He's just
hiding our file somewhere. Hiding our file. So I'm really trusting God for that. Another thing that that we're likely to come up with is, like we said, the fragrance of influence is created to empower women to be the best of who they are through education, through mentoring. What we had discovered that the people our age are kind of embracing emptiness now from 50. Especially for some of us, maybe we got married at 24. God blessed us. We're able to have our children. Our children are living home from 50 to 60. A lot of women are experiencing. What do they do? It's a pandemic, my sister. It is a pandemic. So here and there, we have seen, pockets of people approaching us. Maybe we're going to start a group.
Yeah, that would be
a woman from South Africa. To have a group, because a woman is doing that, researching, Black women aging well. They said, all right, let's leave the women who are 60, 70. We may not be able to do much. But what about the ones who are 40, 45? What are we doing to prepare them for this stage that we are in? She said, she looks at me and she said, where is this woman coming from? If she's not publishing books, she's doing book coaching. If she's not doing that, she's doing where? And I tell them, I sell food, though. I'm not ashamed. Our mommy, Reverend Adejimo, said, there's no shame money. There is no shame money.
Money doesn't wear, it doesn't wear a particular outfit. Money is money.
No, it's money. Money is vulnerable. If you work at it, it will come to your hand. So by the great, there are a lot of things coming up. That is another thing that we actually want to teach women to have their own room, have their own income. The Lord is saying, what is in your hand? There's so many women, beautiful women, intelligent women. They are not maximizing their potential. They are waiting for their husband's approval. They are waiting for their children to say, Mom, you can do it before they choose to do. You do not. Nobody was there. It was only your mother when you were born. When you were even created, nobody was there. The only person that you should ask permission from is from your God, your maker. So those are the things that are coming. I do not know the shape that they will take, but especially, for, maybe Black women, aging well, project. I don't know the form that is going to take, but it's really coming. We want to groom people from 40 to 45 to prepare them. What is in your hand when you're retired? What does it look like? Do you even retire? Somebody is 60. She went back to study law. Is she retired?
In the Jewish culture, in the Jewish culture, there's nothing like retirement. There's no word for retirement. In Jewish culture, there's no retirement, which means maybe God is saying something. Why do you? Because John Master will often ask them, we often tell them that why do you want me to retire from what I love to do, from what I have been ordained to do? Why would you?
I enjoy.
Somebody asked him, when are you going to stop writing books? He's like, why would I retire from what I enjoy doing?
You want to kill him?
You want to kill him because then there's no more vision. Because people really die quickly when there's no more vision. They said 3 to 5 years after people retire, they start dying because there's no vision. There's nothing to keep them going. So why retire from what?
No purpose. They don't have any purpose. So that is where God is, working with us, and I know that God will help us, to actually fulfill those purposes. So I'm still writing books. I've got another one coming by the grace of God, which is why women should lead with emotional courage. You cannot afford not to be vulnerable.
Get ready for that.
You will not lead well. Get ready for that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. We are most welcome. The tribe says thank you. Thank you so much, man. Alice, we know we'll have you back. So people watch out. The Unstoppable Woman series is coming soon. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm going to have Adesayo on one of those, Actually, episode 100 is coming, so let's look out, let's watch out. Something big, exciting is coming. I'm so excited. So excited.
Amen.
Thank you so much for coming, man.
You,
people, until we come your
God
way.
Bless you, man.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.